What's going on, everyone? It's Papa Flannel. If you remember last week, we were talking about why there was oil in the air filter, and today we're going to figure out why. All right, so here's our motorcycle. And if you come here by where your shifter assembly is, just gonna squat down real quick, you see that there's a couple hoses sticking out of there. Each one of those is a vent or an overflow. They all have different causes, but one of them is the reason why there might be a little bit of oil in your filter. Let's explore them. Now you see there's this first one, and this one's actually for fuel. So if you overflow your tank, or there's like gases that need to escape, like in kind of your car, how you take off the cap and it hisses at you. Well, this one's kind of the same purpose. And then we'll go up there right now and explore where it goes. The second one is coolant. So again, very similar to a car. There's an overflow in a car, and there is one on the motorcycle too. And I'll show you in a second. And we have this third one, also fuel. It's actually a drain. So this is really for actual rain, water, that type of debris. And I'll show you that drain in a second. And this last one is actually evap. So if you look at it, there's a little bit of oil here. And that's the same. It actually goes to the air box up there. And every now and then, it's good to drain this. We'll probably cover it in detail in another video. But let's discuss these two thick ones here that are for the fuel. So one of your hoses comes up this way, and very hard to see through the crack here on your tank, but there's a hose that comes up to it. And that's what I said, expansion, and when there's heat, it needs to burp. So if you overflow your fuel, it has to go somewhere. So that's the purpose of that line. Now the other fuel hose that we saw down there, that's kind of one of the thicker ones, comes up here. So let's open this fuel tank so you can see what I'm talking about. Now you see this little hole. If you pour some water, I mean, you probably shouldn't because it could get into the fuel. But if you do happen to get some water in here, it'll actually just kind of drain out down there. And as you see, there's dirt. So, water, dirt, all that kind of seeps through these cracks anyway. And that ends up down here. So that's where that second thick hose goes. Now your third hose, one of those smaller hoses, actually comes here. And this is actually your coolant reservoir. So very similar to a car, like when it overflows or, heat, expansion, all that. If you follow it, it just kind of seeps to the ground. So you just kind of leak coolant a little bit. So if you're ever parked and you see coolant on the ground, check that first. All right, and to the last and final hose. Now your final hose is this one right here. And like I mentioned earlier, this goes to the air box, so where your air filter is. And there's usually a little clip here. You just kind of pinch it, pull it up, and the cap twists off. So just a couple little spins here. There it goes. And you see how it's dripping a little bit of oil? So if you were riding and you tipped the motorcycle over, you've been riding in a lot of rain, you've been riding hard, so very high RPMs, highway driving, chances are there's going to be a little bit of oil in this. Now, you're probably wondering, how often should I check this or change it? Good rule of thumb, if you rode in any of the conditions I just mentioned, probably check. It'd probably take a while to fill up, but not a bad idea to drain it. I usually do it every oil change. Every oil change, I'll change my oil and I'll drain this little hose. The other ones, I would just check for clogs, maybe just a little bit of brake clean and clean them off. Debris does get stuck in here, little rocks and pebbles you pick from the road. But aside from that, very low maintenance. You could even go as far as every riding season if you really wanted to, or if you don't really ride the bike a lot. But I ride the bike a lot, so every oil change has worked out for me. Okay, so for the air filter, why oil ends up in there, I realized I didn't really explain why. So it's pretty much a hose another different hose goes from the engine into the air box in its gases. Like the engine heats up, the oil heats up. There's gases that, you know, I'm pretty sure the EPA doesn't want them to go into the atmosphere. So they get thrown into the air box, and then the engine kind of, sucks them back in and burns them off. And, if you still have your catalytic converter, so your original exhaust, you won't smell like burning oil. But if you don't, you have a shorty GP or some aftermarket exhaust that doesn't have the catalytic converter, sometimes you'll get the whiff of burning oil. So that's where that comes from. And any excess will eventually drip into that little hose. So if you ride harder, so high RPMs for a long time on the highway, that's why that little hose fills up, a little bit more than usual. And then that's why I also mentioned in one of the other videos that if you tip it over or if you see a lot of oil in there, that's something to be concerned about, because then something's not right, most likely because you tipped it over. Anyway, back to the video. And now you know about those drain tubes. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.